talk about Logic Apps and Microsoft Flow.
In addition to Steef-Jan talking about Microsoft Flow and Logic Apps, figured I'd give an update on Integrate 2017 and a blog post that I've recently written around my topic now that all of the agendas have been released. In addition, last week I had asked people for feedback around what they'd like to see on future episodes of Middleware Friday. I've got some good responses so far, so I figured I'd share that with you in this episode. So I know what you may be thinking. You may be thinking that this is an episode that's going to put Logic Apps versus Microsoft Flow and try to determine what is the best tool for people to use. But I think the bottom line is it depends on your persona, whether or not you're a developer, whether or not you're a citizen business user. And the bottom line is each tool is going to have its strengths. So I think Steef-Jan does a really good job of balancing out these different perspectives. With the hockey playoffs underway, I figured it was a good opportunity to put these two technologies together and see what the outcome is. In this picture, we can see the Ottawa Senators playing the Pittsburgh Penguins. I'm going for Ottawa. I used to live in Ottawa, so go Sens.
Hi, I'm Steef-Jan Wiggers, and I like to talk about task automation using either Flow or Logic App in the ways of employee empowerment. So if you look at task automation, it's kind of who you want to give control. Do you want to give control to the employee, the power user? Then there's a technology within Office 365 called Microsoft Flow, which is built on top of Logic Apps. So Logic App is the more defined and used for, or intended to developers and IT pros. And say you do not want to give the employee or the power user within a business the control to kind of task automate certain things. Then you give the control to the developer or IT pro, say, okay, I'm going to do this for you, and then you can do your job in that way. So if it's more mission critical kind of thing, then you could say, okay, now I'm going to give that control to an IT pro, which has a more versatile set of features and capabilities within Logic Apps versus what you can see in Flow. But you will see that in a demo in a minute. So you can think about certain scenarios where employees kind of want to have control over their own data and documents, and you can think about scenarios like moving documents or syncing documents, retrieval data of CRM, getting notifications for incidents, and so forth. So in that way, he kind of has control and he can do it the way he feels like it. But sometimes that's maybe not possible, or when it's more kind of mission critical, you could say, or it's getting a little bit more complex. You could say, hey, IT, can you do this for me? And Logic Apps is pretty easy. It's pretty straightforward. It's serverless, so you can do serverless integration with various parts within Azure and SaaS solutions. So you can really set that up quickly too, to give that employee or power user or business kind of fulfill their needs, but pretty quickly. So you can empowerment through that way. You can either give them control, empower them, or you can facilitate them in a pretty fast manner. So if you look at demo, this is kind of the diagram. You have a document that ends into OneDrive, and you want to have to sync it up to Google Drive. Let's say it's interdepartmental. You still give them freedom or what technology which you want to use. So one department could say, okay, now I'm going to use OneDrive. They would say, no, we'll be using Google Drive. Or maybe it's between two enterprises. So one uploads the document into OneDrive and have it synced up to another company and uses Google Drive. And you can do this either through Microsoft Flow, so then you would give the power to the employee itself, so he can do it. Or you can say, okay, IT pro or developer, now you're going to set up this process. So if you look at the Logic App, you set up 3 connections in this way. If you look at it, so there's a connection to the OneDrive, to that folder, and the interval, it checks kind of every second. And then it's going to create that file into a Google Drive in another path. So that's file name, file content, and then an email is going to be sent. And if you look at Flow, so this is the environment within Microsoft Office. So you can get to it, and it's kind of similar. And you can see that the Flow is built on top of Logic App. So you can see kind of similar ways. Enterprise A goes to B and sends an email. So if you look at already done this, so you can just have a look of how to run basically goes. When the document enters, it goes in. You can see that you can even go to raw in and outputs, and you can drill down and drill into it. And that same accounts for if you look at the flow. You can click and then you can see the same. The only thing is that you cannot go into raw in and output, so it's a little bit less first time, you would say. So you have, of course, more control and capability. If you look at Logic Apps, you can have diagnostics. There's more tooling around it compared to a flow. You can see that here in this blade, and also access to it, etc., etc. So this is just the OneDrive environment. There are two documents here. The documents are also here in the Google Drive, and I also received 2 notifications here about those 2 documents. Just kind of what happens if you look into it. So this is the document. Hey, it's been created in a folder, and it's got that size. And this is another document. It's got a different size. So this is kind of in a nutshell what happens in that demo. At least this is how it flows, and this is how it kind of works. And it's pretty similar, but then there's some consideration. If you look into the technology, it's kind of who you want to give control and what's about the particular task automation. Is a pretty mission critical and complex that you could say, okay, I'll give this to ID Pro developer, and they still can create this pretty fast because it's kind of serverless. So within the environment, you just know what the requirements are. You can build it and then say, hey, here's your I've automated your task, and you can proceed doing other stuff. Or you can say, no, you can get your own control. It's not that mission critical. You want to do more kind of self-service. You can say, okay, you can do this yourself within a browser. So Logic Apps is going to be built out in a browser or Visual Studio. That's kind of the difference. There's also, if you look at the DevOps perspective, there's not much around flow than just the thing. So you can look into runs that succeeded or failed. That kind of stuff is pretty low. If it's really that complex, then you probably would go to ID Pro developer anyway. If you look at the DevOps side from a Logic App, you get source control, you get testing, support, automation, the Azure resource management, and so forth. So there's a lot around there. From manageability perspective, either you do it through both is in the browser, but it's flow Microsoft.com. So that's one way you can look at it and work manage your flows. And the other one would particularly more be the Logic App. Through the Azure portal. Security-wise, there's some data sovereignty and encryption for sensitive data. If you look at Logic App, you can have either Azure Security, Azure Active Directory, audit logs, and there's some more around it. So this is based on a blog post I wrote in the past. So you can find that also on the BizTalk 360 blog. As you can see, so how you can build that flow, how you can build that in a Logic App, what happens. So it's more descriptive, or at least explain more in detail what happens. You can see that, and you can read all about it. There's some choices. I explained these too. As you can see, there's some considerations when you look at security, costs, or from a governance perspective, if you want to prevent that there are too many flows or Logic Apps are running around, you need to kind of governance too, because there's costs involved in the end. So you want to have a look at that. Okay, so this kind of if you look at an employee empowerment perspective, you can either give the control to the user, giving them flow, or you can say, no, I'm going to get that control, or give that control to my IT people, and they're going to do it, but they can do it pretty quickly. Okay.
Thanks, Steef-Jan, for putting that together. Really appreciate it. This is the 3rd episode that Steef-Jan has contributed to, and I really appreciate him bringing a new perspective to the show. I hope you enjoy it as well. Today on Community Corner, we're going to talk about a blog post that I recently wrote. And the title of the blog post is Integrate 2017. I've got a link here where you can actually get more details about the event. The event is put on by BizTalk 360, one of the partners of this show. And they always do a great job. This is the 4th time that I'll have been out to London for a BizTalk 360 event. Previously, they were known as BizTalk Summits, more recently they're now known as Integrate. And it's always a great show. There's always a lot of smart people there, so it's a great networking opportunity as well. Now you might be wondering, after 20 episodes, do I have anything left to talk about? And some days I wonder that myself. But I have been holding back, and what I've been holding back on is bots. So I've been working for the last couple months on a demo bot that I could use. Initially it came out of some work at my employer where we wanted to investigate how feasible bots were, but also starting to dig into some of the cognitive side of the world and also machine learning. So I'm actually going to bring that to Integrate, and the title of my talk is Give Your Bots Connectivity with Azure Logic Apps. And kind of the core message here is that bots are useless on their own, and they need connectivity, and they may need to connect to system of record systems like SAP or SharePoint Online or other applications like ServiceNow. So now we can actually go ahead and bring this connectivity using Logic Apps and the benefits of a serverless architecture in order to provide more value to our bots. So largely my talk will be centered on the Microsoft Bot Framework, Azure Logic Apps, and Azure Cognitive Services. So I'm very much looking forward to attending Integrate, and I'm very much looking forward to putting on this session. Next, let's talk about feedback and survey results. So last week I asked you for some feedback, and so far I've got some great feedback. I really appreciate it. And really what I was looking for was one question I was asking, and I just wanted you to check off the different topics that you'd like to see more of on future episodes of Middleware Friday. And to no surprise, a lot of the core integration technologies like Logic Apps and BizTalk and Service Bus were all included, so that's great to see. Also pleasantly surprised to see so much interest in BizTalk. So even after the last 3 sessions I've provided have all been focused on BizTalk, this is good feedback that allows me to invest more in it, knowing that more people want to hear about BizTalk. I've also included blockchain, which is more of a fringe technology. There absolutely is a middleware component to it, just not so much in the middleware that we're used to thinking about. 42% of people have expressed some interest, so I will try to fit something in here sometime. I won't claim to be a blockchain expert, but it is a technology I've been spending a lot of time on for the last year learning about, and I do find it rather compelling. In addition, Stream Analytics and IoT have had some strong showing. I've got bots there as well, API management, and then there was a couple others. One was around CRM and CRM Dynamics AX integration, and then also Azure Data Lakes. So I do know that Steef-Jan has been working on a CRM online demo, so I think I'll leave that technology to him. Azure Data Lakes, I have never actually used it. It is a technology we are exploring at work, but perhaps I'll get someone with a little bit more experience to do a guest show on that one. I'm going to leave the SurveyMonkey link open. Feel free to continue to provide your feedback. I don't see why this is a one-time deal. So continue to provide your feedback, and I'll continue to provide sessions based on what you're interested in, because I want to bring as much value as I can. Also, follow me on Twitter, either at Weirsy or at Middleware Fry for content specific to Middleware Friday. Once again, thank you BizTalk360 for being a great partner of the show. We'll see you next week, and I'll leave you with some music credits.